Hey, episode 209, May 20th, 2021. We've been doing this for, I don't know, like 52 months now. Um, so uh, the director and I were just talking about vaccinations, but which is also related to masks. And I was saying, even if you want to take your mask off because you think that the risk of COVID is not as high anymore, do you really want to take your mask off and quit spraying shit down at the gym where everything is being touched by, workout guys, poo hands, jizz hands, nose picking hands, hands that reach down their pants to unstick their balls from their thighs. You know, there's plenty of reasons to, if they're going to give you a squirt bottle full of disinfectant, to keep squirting shit. Um, so a lot of states and some cities are offering vaccination incentives. Michigan is offering $1 million, 5 shots at $1 million for people who are vaccinated. Maryland, $2 million. New York is giving you a $20 scratcher ticket that has a $5 million first prize. New Orleans gives you a pound of crawfish. But if you're in Vegas, you can go to Larry Flint's Hustler Club and get vaccinated there, and they will give you a limo ride. They'll give you bottle service. They'll give you a ticket to some like nudie show, and they will give you lap dances. So if you get vaccinated in Vegas, your incentive is you can leave drunk in a limo and with a boner. They're calling it a $5,000 value, which is, that's a little inflated, but still. Would you get vaccinated for a boner, Lance?
Well, I've got one right now, and I didn't pay anything. So, but I'm not going to be vaccinated. And all the Democrats I know ask me why, and my answer is that I've been lied to since March of last year at every step of the way on this Wuhan virus. There's never been a word out of the CDC's mouth that hasn't been a lie or proven to be the opposite a month later. So I have no reason to believe in any of this nonsense. I don't think you'll mind me bringing this up. There are a certain number of people, all of them, not all of them Democrats, I know one Republican, that has been vaccinated but is still afraid to re-enter normal life.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we should, because I think that's proof right there that this has gone well beyond science and into
can I tell it? Can I tell it?
Please.
Okay, so you called me a few days ago saying, "Can I come model for you?" And because and I always like to get paid for standing there with my junk out. And I've been fully vaccinated, but I asked, is everybody in your class vaccinated? And do they wear masks? And the answer to both those questions is no. And you teach your class in a space. The job is 4 hours of not moving, pretty much. I have to hold my pose and everybody else is drawing. So you're the only person moving around the classroom. There's no ventilation whatsoever. There's no air conditioning. It's in this kind of industrial space that's, I don't know, probably 25 feet wide by 18 high by 40 or 50 deep. It's not.
I think you lost the audience. Go ahead.
All right, it's a box. It's a pretty big box, but you've got 8 people in it, no ventilation, no air circulation. And my kid is coming to see us for the first time in 17 months. She's only half vaccinated. So my wife is listening and she's like, I don't think you should do it. And I'm like, yeah, probably not, because even if you're vaccinated, it drops your risk down of catching it by, I don't know, 90 to 95%. And it drops the severity down by a similar percentage, but you can still catch it. It's just less likely, and you can still be an asymptomatic carrier. And so we got our kid coming in, and she's only half vaccinated. You know, she's hoping to get her second shot when she comes to town. And just overall, it's still not worth the risk, especially since, you know, the 4 hour modeling job is kind of a pain in the ass. Driving to 35 miles to run a slight risk of getting the crud. You know, all things considered, you know, maybe I would consider it in a couple months if you still need somebody to model, if the numbers keep going down. LA County has among the best numbers in the nation. The positivity rate here is down to 0.5%. So yeah, I'm being a little overly cautious. At the same time, you know, I don't want to fuck up my kid.
Yeah, and I think that if you're really that concerned, your kid shouldn't be coming to LA. You should get a big plastic bubble for your kid and keep the kid in a big plastic bubble, because who knows? The airplane could be hijacked, and there could be a rabid dog when she gets off the plane that might have rabies and bite her on the leg. She could get in an accident on the freeway getting to your house. And then when she does get there, there's so many accidents that happen in the bathroom. I mean, you should probably make all the doors rubber, and don't use electricity.
You know, like not
Yeah,
like you mentioned all these risks, and
a
you
lot
know
of sharp
the risks.
corners on the tables in your house. I noticed a lot of sharp corners. A kid could lose an eye on those sharp
You,
corners.
you know, I've got a stats background, and you know, nobody's died in American commercial aviation since 2011. You know, it's I don't like flying.
How
Um,
many kids your age have died from COVID? Do you know that, or the Wuhan virus? Do you know how many?
no, but
Less
anyway,
than,
the deal
no,
is
no,
that
no.
if I
Well,
can
let me
do it,
answer. Let In the entire United States since this began, less than 400.
okay. But that doesn't okay. So those are deaths, but you also have the people who have lasting debilitation. Um, you know, our director, uh, who had it like 3 months ago or 4 months ago. I don't think our director's duties have ever returned to the color they were before the director got the COVID. Um, which is not a terrible. I mean, that's not the worst thing to happen, but you know, there's a whole slew of possible lasting effects you can have. Um, my
Did
fucking
our direct
mother-in-law, it's hard to tell with her, but she got COVID, I don't know, 3 months ago, and she's definitely more addlepated, scatterbrained, you know, declining into, you know, early dementia than she was before the COVID. Is it because the COVID accelerated it? Is this the normal trajectory that she'd be following? I don't know, but why, you know, why put my family at risk just so I can show my dick to your art students when I can show my dick, you know, to your art students in 6 weeks possibly when the numbers are even lower, and my kid has gone back to England.
Well, the reason is that this this you've got a statistics background, so you should know that the odds of these terrible things happening are so low that only a hypochondriac would continue to live like you're living.
Well, no, I go to the gym. I go to 3 gyms a day now. And yeah, I am a hypochondriac. And because I'm a hypochondriac, I caught my kidney cancer at stage 1A. Being a hypochondriac has been very good to me. And understanding risk has been pretty decent too, where I feel I can go, I don't yell at people wearing their masks wrong at the gym anymore because it's not justified in terms of the levels of COVID in LA County right now. So I've got a reasonable appreciation for risk. I had a couple of weeks when I going back to the gym where I was just like a rude dick to people. I'm like, put on your mask, and I try to scare people, but I can't have that small joy anymore because it's just, I'm not, I'm not reducing risk significantly. I'd be being a Karen for no reason.
So let me ask you a question. From a statistics standpoint, you know that taking the vaccine has reduced your risk of getting this by 99%.
No, I said 90 to 95%.
Okay, and then your risk was already 90 to 9. You already had a 98% chance of not getting it, period. That was already. So now you've got 2% of 2% or 10% of 2%.
Well, so hold on. So, fucking LA County has 10 million. I mean, to get the risk of getting it in LA County. Now, the risks, okay. So LA County has had about 1.27 million cases with a population of just over 10 million. So about 1 person in 8 in LA County is tested positive for it. And minority people get it at a higher rate because there's a correlation.
Hang on, that's closer to 1 in 9.
What? No, 12.7. 12.7% is a little over 1 in 8.
All right, I'll trust you, but I don't.
Okay.
How is that possible?
1/8 is 12.5%. Anyway, 1 person in 8 has gotten the COVID. My risk is lower for being not poor and not a minority. So, Whitey in Studio City, probably 5% of Studio City has gotten COVID versus 12% for the entire county.
Okay, so now we're down to 5%, and now of that 5%, you now have 5% of 5% because you've been vaccinated. So what's that?
Yeah, that's 1 in 400, except that I'd be in a box in Torrance. Torrance isn't fucking Studio City. Torrance is a shittier town than sorry, Torrance, but
no,
Torrance,
it's not 1 in 400. It's much more like that. It's
1 in 20 times 1 in 20 is 1 in 400.
All right. Okay. So now it's 1 in 400, but then you have to take into account that your kid has also been half vaccinated, which reduces her chances by 70%.
Yeah.
So now that's 1 in 800, 1 in 1,000.
Okay, but let's look at the
and then wait, and finally, only 400 people her age have died from it of 330 million Americans over a year. So that's 1 in 50,000.
What do you think her age is, by the way?
What, she's 23, 22?
No, she's 26.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
All right, but hold on. The deal is, like, look at it. It's not just whether she gets sick. It's whether my family thinks I'm a fucking dick. Because the downside is different. If I get COVID, in the normal scheme of things, Like, plenty of people took all sorts of precautions when COVID was going crazy and still got it. Um, but if I modeled for you and caught the shit, which is unlikely, um, and passed it on again, which is unlikely, my wife and my kid would be like, "You're a complete fucking asshole. We're sick, or my kid is sick, because you just had to go stand there naked for Lance, a known like COVID vax resistor." I mean, that would be like one of the major dick. I've been married now for 30 years, and this would be, um, one of the were I to get my family sick, this would go up there, on the black, among the black marks of my behavior in this marriage, uh, as bad as when I surprised my wife with a reality show filming crew, or when I came. No, I didn't. I didn't really come close to cheating on her while she was pregnant, but I was in a situation where I was potentially sexually compromised while she was like 3 or 4 months like, this would be up there with shit like that. And so I can't model for you until my kid goes back home.
Do you want to flesh out that story about
Okay.
the sexual compromising? Because I think people want to know what you mean by that, Rick.
Okay, so my wife's on a business trip. I've been an art model. I mean, not much lately, but starting when I was in my early 20s. And sometimes I would go audition, I would show up at a place that seemed hinky. But like, normally you call a school and you say, I'm an art model, and they'll say, well, send a photo, or send your resume, or come see us, and then we'll schedule you to pose for a class. That's how you get most of your work, right? But sometimes I'd end up in places that were a little fucked up. Like, one place was, I showed up in Hollywood where it was obviously a little swingery. Like, there were pictures of models from previous sessions in compromising positions, and they were obviously, if the conditions were right, things could get weird. They didn't get weird for me because I wasn't well, I was a guy, and maybe wasn't their cup of tea, and who knows what their fucking cup of tea was. But I would show up at places that were a little hinky, hoping that things I wouldn't take them very far, because I'm married, and I wasn't going to violate the bounds of marriage. But if things got a little pervy, I would appreciate that before getting out of there, because I could beat off to it later. Okay. So I should.
And you think we're going to have important people on this show after you say something like that?
Yeah. Well, like, if I'd the deal is, I'd go to a place where things were hinky, and then I'd leave before things got really bad. And, but then in the privacy of my own fantasies,
all right, man.
All right. So anyway, I showed up at this place, and this guy was lying. Everything he said was a lie. Said he was working on auditioning people for a project for Penthouse magazine. It's like, no, you weren't. At a guy in a earthquake damaged house in Northridge. He had a Korean, a very, an 18 or 19 or 20-year-old Korean prostitute there that he said was his secretary. And had I been willing, shit would have happened. And I got out of there before anything happened, because
You know what I've never understood about this story?
Yeah.
And I've thought about it pretty much every day since you told me 20 years ago.
Okay.
The thing I don't understand is this: there are plenty of people that will just do a porn movie for you. You call them up, and they'll come out. You don't have to like sneak people into it. I don't really understand why
That was
things
all
weren't
part of
made
the
clear.
same. The guy was just a lunatic. He had like a nameplate on his desk, Douglas W. Watt. There's no way that was his name. He told me his secretary, who was this um, Korean girl, sitting there in a man's shirt and pantyhose and no pants or dress. Um, he told me she was a genius. And it's like he was just like throwing out lies. And then he took like a few pictures of me, and I looked over there, and he was wearing those like those satiny shorts, jogging shorts that people used to wear 20 years ago, and one of his balls was out, and I was like, at the point where one of his balls was out, I'm like, all right, that's my cue to get out of here before things get even more fucked up. Um, but so and the deal is I found the audition, the assignment. It was stuck, taped to a wall at Pierce College. It was one of those deals where you tear off the phone number along the bottom that people used to do. So it was all bullshit, and it was all crazy bullshit. So who knows why he didn't just he probably didn't know where to find actual porn stars, and B, it probably wasn't part of his whole fucked up fantasy. It was he was a crazy person. One time I walked into a a a fucked up audition, and the photographer, a woman, I don't know, probably in her 50s. This is 30 years ago now. When I first got to LA, her studio was a shrine to the actor Dennis Weaver. She
A
had a
lot of people today won't know who Dennis
Yeah, I have
Weaver
to
was.
explain. Dennis Weaver was a cowboy actor who acted in a 1970s TV series called McCloud about a rural cop, a cowboy cop who comes to solve crimes in the big city, which was all TV was like that. It was just shitty.
But I mean, there was not the slightest memorable thing about Dennis Weaver.
No, except
That's
she,
what's so funny about this. It's like having a shrine to the least interesting person you know.
yeah, but maybe she grew up in a cowboy place and she liked his cowboyness. And so it was a shrine to Dennis Weaver, and there was a big round bed, and it was auditioning to be a young guy. She made porn where young guys have simulated sex, because this is the 90s. The what she was working on, there was simulated sex where the penis stopped short of the vagina by about a quarter inch, was a big deal in the porn magazines of the 90s. And I wasn't going to actually be in this stuff. I just wanted, something to jerk off to later. Like what if I'd gone ahead and done it? So I show up at this audition, and she's like, "Well, we can't even use you because we need young-looking guys, and you have a beard." So, you run into all sorts.
I I remember there was an artist I knew, and I never really thought of the fellow as an artist. He was more of a dilettante, but he liked the idea of hiring nude models because he was more of a, if you were to characterize this person, it would be more a sex pervert than anything else.
Mhm.
And so he figured out this little game where what he would do. Oh, I got to turn the camera. All right. There, we need anonymity here for our show, guys. All right. So anyway, this fellow would hire. He'd found himself a really really handsome male model, and he had identified The one female that was model that was the most likely to hop into bed with somebody. And so he figured he would get them together and see what happened. And it worked out. It worked out for him.
He had people having sex in front of him.
That was his little game. Now, I will say, he was very discreet. So anybody seeing this, your secret is safe. I still don't know who they were, but the funny thing is that he did the math in his head. He said, okay, I'll find the best looking guy I know and I'll get him naked with the loosest female art model I can find. And sure enough, magic followed.
Well, I guess, I mean, good for, I don't know. It was a different time. That's what you always have to say. It was a
Yeah.
different time. And the deal is, you've been you've been an artist for your whole life. I've been a
Oh, wait,
model
wait.
for a
And
while.
I just want to say, excuse me, I just want to say that artist was not me,
Yeah. Well, no,
in case
your
people are
stuff is
wondering.
always above board, and most, I've worked in a zillion places, and unfortunately, I'm not so smoking hot that 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 stuff mostly doesn't happen. Most art class, I mean, the vast majority of artists and model situations, nothing like that happens.
Well, what I like to tell people is this. Imagine that you were working at a bank
Mhm.
and there was a teller in the next window and you worked together every day for 3 years. Your chance of having sex with that teller is the same as if you were an artist with an art model. Couldn't happen. It's just both of you know it's just a job and
Yeah,
romance does not follow.
I've had a couple jobs where I've been naked with a woman, and there's like, I was very careful to, maybe if I were a super hot guy, and there'd be some benefit for the woman for hooking to the I don't offer like outward benefits, like, no, my years when I was passably hot, are far behind me. And anyway, like, I knew my place, and my place wasn't to, even if I hadn't been married, was not to uh, I knew that I know that I'm not wanted in that, even in that context where everybody's naked. And
I I would say that only the very, very top male art models could actually use it to get girls.
yeah,
It was extremely unusual. Like the very same guy that might go on to become an actual movie star.
yeah,
That kind of guy could actually get a date after
right,
class.
yeah. And like,
But you'd have to be very
yeah,
unusual.
not only have no women hit on me in art classes, I don't think even a guy has hit on me. Um, and guys will hit on people more readily than women.
Yeah. So you're saying you could go to prison and probably be left alone by
Well,
the
no, I feel
rapists.
like in prison, when you're, when you're I mean, now I don't know what happens to old guys in prison, but like, like, anybody who's taken any women's studies or who's just been aware knows that rape is a power move as much as more than a sex move. We don't have to argue about that, but I feel like in prison, like, the whatever raping happens might be just like a way to fuck somebody up and establish dominance, or just, that it
Yeah,
isn't because
that's
somebody thinks you're pretty necessarily.
I I I have known personally people that went to prison and had stories about it. And even in prison, they like a guy that looks a little bit more feminine.
Yeah.
Like if you were, had delicate features, you'd be in greater demand.
Yeah, and like, I'm old now, and like I've seen my ass in the mirror. I don't make a habit of looking at it, but occasionally I'll, and I have varicose veins running along my ass cheeks, which is, it's insanity. It's
So, so let me ask you a question. How many people in our audience are
I've turned
tuning
this
in to
off
hear
because it's so.
this, or did they want to hear politics? Because maybe we should go on
All
to a
right,
more
well
serious
let's segue
subject.
to the deal. Let's segue from people with crazy sexual, kinks that lead them to stage like bogus artist model kind of shit to, now I've got a theory, um, that reasonable people at this point in history do not get embroiled in sexual scandals. Right now, there's a very well known Florida congressman, Matt Gaetz, who apparently is, is allegedly embroiled in a, one of his best friends just took a plea bargain for basically pimping women, including at least one underage woman, to his friends. And one of his friends is Matt Gaetz, who allegedly, paid for sex with more than a dozen women, um, including an underage woman, which makes it statutory rape. But whatever investigation is going on um, is proceeding slowly, and he's saying it's all bullshit. It's all character assassination. But he's probably one of the most Bill Gates. So we got what? We got Matt Gaetz, and then we have Bill Gates. Bill Gates, Bill Gates's wife just dumped him. Um, and everybody expects like all sorts of shoes to drop with that. That he may have been fucking around with a Microsoft employee. Um, and it may be that unsavory, his association with Jeffrey Epstein, because they were friends to some extent. Anyway, Bill Gates may be in the middle of going into the sex scandal barrel. Two Gateses, Bill and Matt. Um, but my theory is that now Bill Gates is an old guy. He's what, probably 65, 66 now. Um, Most of the guys who are the big offenders, the Harvey Weinsteins, um, the Bill Cosbys, we can argue about Trump or not, but like Trump stands accused by a number of people. They're all old guys. Bill Cosby.
Biden stands accused by a number
Yeah,
of
I mean,
people.
okay, if you buy your media, but it's like one person accused him, and she is like of a sex thing rather than a hair sniffing thing. And I mean, I always say Google people, but you can Google her. But anyway, the people with,
Yeah, she's perfectly credible, and she's accusing your man of raping her. So stop
she
throwing
changed.
around Trump.
Well, no, because Trump has like 26 or 30 accusers, and Cosby had 60 plus, and Weinstein had dozens and dozens. And
Yeah, and
I,
I'm saying what the Democrats like to do is they find these feminists that are willing to say anything because they think that it helps their cause. And a good Democrat, a good communist will say whatever they have to take down an opponent. I like, for example, I'll tell you what got me to disenchanted with the honesty of Democrats when they accused Kavanaugh of being a gang rapist, Justice Kavanaugh, and then they brought in this maniac, this woman who said that she was at a party, she didn't know where the party was. They threw her on a bed, they laughed. It was madness. And then they brought in a woman that said that he'd raped her with a half a dozen other people.
Yeah,
And of
well,
course, none of it was provable. And I thought, yeah, typical Democrats. They're liars, they're rats, and they are doing the same thing to Matt Gaetz, as they've done to everybody that they can. They come up with outrageous lies in order to discredit people, and it works with you, Rick, because you're
well,
open to
not really,
believing
because like, no,
anything bad.
hold on, because like I like so now the deal with all right, so Gates, the jury's out, except is we're waiting to see if what develops. He claims nothing untoward happened. Um, with Cosby, eventually 60 plus women accused him, and this one went to trial with enough evidence that a jury found her credible, which is a tough thing to do, and he's in prison now. I tend to go off the numbers. Now the more than 2 dozen women who accused Trump, a lot of them accused him long, but I don't think he has any accusations of sexual misconduct that happened after 2013. He's an older man.
So you
Um,
think Trump raped 27 women?
no, um, and some of the accusations are just being creepy rather than. And I said they're not like there was. He was handsy on. He's accused of being handsy on a plane, uh, and that's not rape. He was accused of like making a woman dance on a table and looking up her skirt, and that's just being creepy. So no, a lot of the accusations are
I don't think it's being creepy.
all right. Well, anyway, so they're
You know what? Wait, I want to go on record. If some woman dances on a table in front of me, I might look up her skirt.
okay.
Could happen. Could happen.
All right, but anyway,
That's why.
so
That's why. That's why your mother used to tell your sister, "Don't dance on the table." When you go to a party and you're wearing a dress, don't leap up on the table and dance in front of guys.
well,
Sorry.
but
Everything's
hold on. You're not
there's
being
two sides to every
you're
story.
not fairly characterizing my family. Um,
I'm not talking about your family. I'm speaking in
oh,
general.
because uh, several members of my family have danced in strip establishments. So we're not one of
Okay.
those families where the mom is saying, don't dance on a table. We've our my family is is has a long record of table dancing. So
Okay. So how can you blame Trump for wanting to look up your sister's skirt?
all right. So anyway, what I'm saying is that my point. I've made this point on the show before, but I'll make it again because what the fuck. That the people with the highest numbers of accusers. James Toback is a guy is a director writer um, who's accused by more than 300 women. He wrote a movie directed it called The Pickup Artist, and he's it's not artistry if everybody walks away from the encounter thinking that they've been sexually accosted. And he's been accused by more than 300 women. But anyway, all these people are in their 70s and 80s. Not Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is, I think he turns 40 this year. But he seems like he might be an idiot. Um, but
I think he's a brilliant leader. I love Matt Gaetz. He's a hero to me. He's one of the few guys to point out what hypocrites the Democrats are about how they wanted to defund his best line was, for 6 months I've been hearing you Democrats say you want to defund the police, and now that the Capitol has had a riot, all of a sudden you want to beef up the security, like you're, dramatically. So I guess you don't want to defund the police around the Capitol, huh? And ever since then, you dirty, hypocritical Democrats have been trying to think of a way to get even with him. And so you basically accused him of something that can never be proven or disproven, which is typical. Just a dirty Democrat tactic, and it's not working. By the way, not one molecule have I changed in my esteem about Matt Gaetz. In
I
fact, I
gotta
like
say,
him more.
hold on. I gotta say that I saw he was one of the people featured in HBO documentary on politics, and I found him um, uh, kind of. I didn't mind him in that documentary. I thought he was semi-reasonable. Um, so,
Okay, can we move on to something else
but
though?
anyway,
Because
no, because we got to get to my
this
stupid
is
point. Then
so
we can move on.
irrelevant.
Okay, all right. My point is that it's old guys mostly who do the wholesale harassing and raping and whatever. Young guys, reasonable young guys, there's still a percentage of perverts who can only who can only get off on interpersonal interactions where they have to interact with a live person. But most reasonable guys, younger than us, take care of their sexual desires if they're not in a relationship, or even if they are, just by going on the internet, looking at smut and jacking off. It's no muss, or it's limited muss, no fuss. It doesn't get you in trouble, unless you're, again, somebody whose perversions take you into dark corners. But a reasonable person doesn't fuck up the way Cosby fucks up, or Harvey Weinstein, or even Louis C.K. Reasonable people with reasonable, sexual, underpinnings, um, just beat off.
All right, look, somehow I have to get you onto a subject that doesn't end with onanism.
Okay, so
So,
all right, so
is there
the deal is,
anything else
I
we can
lost
talk
my
about?
Here's my next point, and then you can have the rest of the fucking show. I lost my campaign. I was not reelected. I came in ninth among 18 candidates in my segment of the ballot, and only the top 4 vote getters um, got to will be on the Studio City Neighborhood Council for the next 2 years.
Do you
Uh,
know why this happened?
yeah, because candidates run slates. Candidates will um, band together and say, if you're a friend of mine, then you should also be a friend of these 5 other people and vote for all 6 of us. So there were a couple slates running. It's a combined ticket. When you do your campaign materials, you say, yeah, we're the progressive whatever. We're pro business for Studio City, or we're this and that, or we don't want Harvard Westlake to take over the Weddington Golf and Tennis Club. Um, so anyway, the slates tend to win because they tend to marshal, because they can accumulate more votes. When I won 2 years ago, somebody added me to a slate without my knowledge, and I benefited from being part of a slate. This time I was not part of a slate.
All right, very good. So, listen, you know, I feel that a terrible, a possibly future great leader has been. I mean, look, think of Churchill after World War II. After winning World War II, uh, he was voted out of office, saved the world, and he was voted out of office.
I think
And
he got voted out of office like several times. He
yeah,
voted
and
out right after
before
World War II, then came back for much of the 50s, and then got voted out again when he
well,
was like ancient.
the Churchill in exile was when he began to warn about the Nazis in the 30s, but no one would listen to him. He was isolated in the 30s, got elected just in time to save the world, was removed from office, and then elected back, I think in the 60s for a couple of years, and then died. That's my best
Well, I watched
remembrance.
the Crown. He was on the Crown. John Lithgow played him, and I think he got elected in the 50s for, I don't know, probably 5 years. A pretty,
Okay, all right.
and then but
Your
then
knowledge,
he got wildly old at the end.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was, yeah, almost. He was not the same man at the end, and people think the last time was just nostalgia electing him again. But so you know the late years of Churchill, but there was the period in exile when he was warning about the Nazis. So I will we'll just call this the period of Rick Rosner in exile,
Okay.
where what you're warning about is that men need to masturbate more. And so
Just
that'll be
it's just
your policy that you're trying to go
yes.
ahead.
No, I
All
just
right.
I mean like sex in general. We've talked about this is less of a desperate need than it was in the 70s when everything else sucked.
All right.
All right.
Um,
Anyway, all right. Let's talk
we
about
I mean, go ahead. Is there anything else?
not
A
really. So we
subject, but a subject that's more mainstream that you would like to discuss.
um yeah, I don't know. I mean, we could talk about the COVID, which is um
We just did
we
that.
yeah, so I don't know. I mean, where the US is doing pretty well. School is about to get out. A third of schools are out now, and within 2 weeks, most schools will get out, which I think will uh, help a little bit.
When you say get out, what do you mean?
Summer vacation.
But aren't they the students in Los Angeles haven't even gotten back into school?
They're in, but they're soon to be out for summer.
But they haven't had.
Yeah,
I'd
I guess
like. Well, before we talk about that, I wanted to explain to our viewers why this show is on YouTube right now. Because the last thing I said,
and Rumble. We're doing YouTube. We're
yeah,
going to try to
yeah.
put this show back on YouTube, and going to keep it on Rumble.
So what happened was I was very bitter. I said I hated YouTube, which I still do, and that I was never coming back. And since then, I've watched many conservatives learn how to stay on YouTube. And since we get 10 times the viewers on YouTube that we get on Rumble, I figured maybe I can use the same tricks that they're using. So here's the thing. The conservatives that I'm watching on YouTube are staying on by using code words. And I think that there's a time to stand by principle, and there's a time to see if being flexible works. So I feel like we can try to use code words for all the things that I want to talk about that YouTube doesn't allow. For example, the reason we were taken down from YouTube before was because I was talking consistently about an event that occurred on November 3rd, 2020, that I thought had a lot of froggy.
Froggies,
Now,
those little green guys
froggies,
who hop
yeah,
around.
froggies,
Froggies, like Kermit.
froggies, yeah, yeah. I thought that there was,
Pervasive froggies.
well, it was froggies having to do with the erection. Now, as you guys know, when a man is about
Loves a
to have
woman.
sex with a
Yeah,
lady,
very
yeah,
much.
when he really loves a woman and he wants to have a baby, he has an erection. And so, and by the way, Chuck Schumer famously called it, uh, the event on 2020, an erection. So that's where we learned this word.
Or selection.
No, no, that's not as funny. So
Okay.
anyway, I would like to talk about erection froggies. And our viewers are so sophisticated that they'll know what this is about. Now, in
No, hold
Arizona,
on.
yeah,
This operates off a theory that that YouTube can tell that YouTube is somehow like scanning videos for troublesome words. Is that the deal?
I don't know how they do it. I mean, I don't know if they have people watching, um, or if there's an algorithm that's listening somehow can isolate the words. But my experience is that I'm actually learning more about erection froggies from YouTube than I am from Rumble, because conservatives have just started using different words. For example, it turns out that in Arizona, they are now conducting an audit of the erection. And
You know what? Hold
this
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let's limit the use of those words
you
anyway.
frozen.
Just say
Okay.
just say they're conducting an audit, and you don't even have to, because the more we get close to the dangerous words, the more they might get, something might get triggered.
Okay. Well,
When you talk about the
what
audit,
what
everybody knows what you're talking about.
okay. All right. So what they have done, now you told me that you would give me $100, and I'm going to hold you to this. Um, because you said they would not be able to find froggies, and they've just released that this that they have found thousands of counterfeit ballets. Now,
They're supposed to be dancing, but it's really just people sitting on stage in tutus.
well, it's the kind of ballets that you should not be accumulating if you're running for president. It's the wrong kind of ballets, because those ballets are. It turns out that the machines are looking for mistakes in the ballets,
Well,
and
just don't say
time,
don't say that word anymore. Just say mistakes. Just if you don't have to use the word that might get us in.
no, no, you can ballets meaning dancers that wear pink tutus.
Yeah, but
Okay,
if you can structure a sentence where
no,
it's
no,
understood.
you can say ballets. The ballets in Arizona, if they have a certain mistake, if they have any kind of mistake, they go into a damaged section
Mhm.
automatically. Now, what what happens is the the erection worker or the machine correcting the ballet can make a duplicate ballet that is new, but it is tied by a barcode to the original ballet that
So,
appears to be
so if a
dead.
thing gets chewed up in
Yeah,
the counting process, then they can replicate it.
that is correct. The the thing is, though, is that the the new replicated ballet has to have the same barcode as the original, because if it doesn't, then it's just a counterfeit ballet. There is no
You can just
purpose
say just
for
a
it.
counterfeit. You don't have to say that fucking word about dancing.
Okay. So what they have found is thousands and thousands and thousands of counterfeits that don't have a corresponding damaged original. So in other words, it's sort of like somebody sat down and said, okay, we've got this option. Here's the reason technically why we could make this ballet. And
Thingy, say thingy. I'm
would you
scared. I'm
stop
scared.
stop,
Okay,
Rick?
all
Just
right,
stop.
but just
Relax.
don't.
You can
Okay.
say ballet. Everyone says ballet and they get away with it. And I trained myself to say ballet before the show, so I can't go back. I can't change it anymore. So anyway, the point is that they used that option to create thousands of duplicates. The problem is that it can only work if there is an original that has been damaged with a barcode. So that if it has no barcode and it's not literally attached to the original in some way, then it's just counterfeit. And that's how the Democrats stole the erection
All right. So where did
in Arizona.
do you remember where you saw this or read about
Yeah,
this?
this was in a meeting at the Arizona State Senate.
But I mean,
This was
where was it
it was
reported on?
it was a live feed from the Arizona State Senate on May the 18th.
All right. We've been going for an hour. Can we take a break and I can read about this quickly?
Well, there's a 4 hour live feed you can
Yeah, but
watch
somebody
where
must, given that this would be a big deal, there must have been at least one article written about it that I could Google.
there might be, but I watched the live feed.
Okay, but like,
And in the live feed, what happened was this: the the auditors, the company, went to the Arizona State Senate and was giving their preliminary results. Now, wait, there's more. Because of the massive amount of froggies that they have found, they're now going to extend the audit to the United States Senate. So it turns out,
you
don't
mean the
interrupt me.
Arizona?
Don't
No, but
interrupt me.
you're saying that they're going to look at other candidates in Arizona.
No, no, they're not. They're going to look at those Democrats that miraculously won the Arizona State Senate. The state, they won the Senate and were sent to Washington, D.C. The
Right.
United
What I was
States.
saying is they're looking at other candidates running in Arizona on down ballot.
Okay, they're looking at the presidential, and we don't use down the word
Oh,
you
fuck my
use.
titties. Oh, shit, motherfucker.
We say ballet.
Yeah, fuck. All
So
right.
so down ballet. At the top there was the president, but it turns out that Arizona, which is one of the most conservative states in the union, if not the most conservative, sent two Democrats to the United States Senate, as well as Joey Bribes for president, which has never happened in this history of Arizona. And so now the auditors are saying, we think that the senators are just as dirty as Joey Bribes.
All right.
So what? Now, wait, I just want you to understand this, Rick. I can tell you that they are going to, I wouldn't stake my life on it at this point, but I want you to begin to get used to the idea that Arizona is going to decertify Joey Bribes and is probably going to send Republicans to the United States Senate. You're going to lose the Senate right now. Think about
That's okay. All right. So I'm not going to get used to that idea. That's insanity. Um,
well,
and
what would you say the recommend? What would you? I'm just curious. If they find out that your man was elected, now remember,
no, no,
Joey
you said
Bribes.
you said a bad word.
Oh shoot, Joey Bribes was erected.
Oh, just fucking. I get the idea. All right. So
By 9,000 ballets in Arizona. They've already found more than that in Froggy's
all right.
ballets.
So, but let's talk about the Senate
So
because
what should they do? What would you don't think that the state of Arizona can simply recall these people?
actually I don't because the election's been certified. But the deal is that
No,
when it
no,
comes
you
to
just
the
said the
Senate,
wrong word.
hold on.
You said the
When it
wrong
comes to
word.
when it comes to the senators, the Republican candidates were like super awful. These are the candidates like the Republican senator who was serving has never won an election, was appointed. Um, isn't Arizona's the one who, and that's one of the senators. The other Republican senator, I don't know, was pretty shitty. Also, the Republican candidate, Kristen Sinema, one of the senators, is a very conservative Democrat who is known for thumbing her nose at, for being somebody who votes against shit she's very that Democrat that other Democratic senators want her to vote for in a gleeful way. I mean, she's not a super liberal Democrat. She's super conservative, as you'd expect. And then you got Mark Kelly, the astronaut, right, as the other candidate.
I'm not sure. I
I mean,
don't
so
know that much about Arizona
but
politics.
it's Mark Kelly is the other. You got Kristen Sinema and you got Mark Kelly, a fucking astronaut married to the woman who got shot in the head in a mass shooting. Um, he's a popular guy.
Okay,
Um,
well, it doesn't matter to me. I
all right.
mean,
But
my
anyway, can
point
I?
is that if it turned out that they got erected, that they in using froggies, then they're going to have to go. You don't just laugh that off. The state has the ability to recall them and replace them with their opponent. And it
Are you
looks
sure? That sounds.
you can't it's not like capture the flag where if you get away with it, you win. You got there first. It doesn't
I'm
work
not
that
sure
way,
there's a
Rick.
mechanism to do that. I mean,
It's
California is about to have a recall
no.
election. But I don't think there's a mechanism short of a recall that if you discover shit like it's been uh, my math, what is it, May right now? It's been 6 months since the election.
Way back
Seven.
6 months ago, there was an erection. Way back it's 6 months ago. Man, it's like it's carved in stone.
All right. Well, anyway,
And
I just
you
think
can
that I
never
don't think
change
there's
that. It's
anyway.
permanent now.
Anyway, let's take a
It's a
break. Let me read about it for 5 minutes and I'll get back
oh,
with you in a
okay.
second. I looked around a little bit. I couldn't find anything about barcodes or anything. You're listening to the live feed from the Arizona legislature. Is
The
that it,
state senate.
Lance? State
The
Senate.
state senate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So,
I mean, it was reproduced on several different citizen journalists' websites, but the your media is refusing to cover it in the hopes
we
that
should talk about what my media is talking about, which is they gleefully report the more ridiculous aspects of the audit. One is, I mean, among the things are that uh, the cyber ninjas, the guys in charge of this audit, have never done an audit before, and they've only made it through 500,000 out of 2.1 million ballots, even though
that's a lie. First of all, it's a lie. They've done plenty of audits. They They haven't done an audit of a president erection because there hasn't been one.
So what
But
have they audited before?
they audit. There are millions of I. There are many things that need to be audited.
At the
There are
state level, or is it always the like?
there
Is it
are
always
there are
boners? Or
business there are business things that need to be audited. There are hacking concerns that people have. They've been in business for a long time. They work for the government. They've worked for corporations, and their job is to audit things when there are, unions have erections. There are lower level
all
erections
right, all right, all
for.
right. Don't say that word so much because it could get anyway. The deal is, what is the fucking deal? Um, damn it. Anyway, like some of the things that they're looking for. I read a couple articles. There's no mechanism to overturn a boner once the boner is certified.
Yeah, Rick, let me tell you something. If a if a leader commits a crime, that leader can't stay in office. Not in the United States I want to live in. If you want your leader to have the ability to commit that kind of crime and then just say, "Well, you didn't catch me. I got away with it," even though they can't, it's proven that they've committed froggies, then I feel sorry for you. I really do. I mean,
All
this is
right, but I mean,
ridiculous.
the legislation would have to be passed because
Yes,
there is
yes,
no
and
existing.
yeah, and I would hope it would.
All right. So anyway, so a couple of things that have been reported in my media is that uh, auditors were looking for um, ballots with bamboo in the paper
You
because
said this 2 weeks ago.
what? Okay, that was all right. So 2 weeks ago. More recently, it was reported that among the theories is that well, okay, so there are a bunch of ballots. Apparently, there was no record of these
You
ballots
said the
going to
word
the.
again. Damn it, Rick.
Oh shit! Sorry, fuck. All right. Anyway, so a bunch of these thingies were burned and fed to chickens, and then the chickens, or no, ground up and fed to chickens, and then the chickens were burned. Um,
You know what that came from, Rick?
I have
Would
no
you like?
idea.
Well, I'd like to tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the important things that people don't understand is chain of custody. So after every ballet is counted, it's kept in a box, and the box has to have the exact number written on it on the outside. It's supposed to say, okay, there are
Yeah,
100 ballots.
you
Ballets. There are 100 ballets in this
just say a
box.
hundred thingies. Just say thingies. Don't even get close to the
Please
word.
stop talking. So, what happens is the Arizona State Senate has found that most of the boxes have incorrect numbers on them. Now, that's completely illegal. And the reason is this, because an unscrupulous person could take out the ballets for the candidate they didn't like and burn them. Don't interrupt me. So what they found is that many of the boxes have lost about 20% of their ballets. And it just so happens that the week uh, that the supervisors turned over the ballets, there was a huge fire on the property of the head of the supervisors. The head of the supervisors owned a piece of property that caught massive fire that week. And so mysteriously, 20% of the ballets are not in the boxes they were supposed to be in, which is incredibly illegal for the reason I just told you.
What
Where
about
where are those ballets, and did they all happen to be for Trump?
what about the thing that just happened that I didn't read much about, that the all these supposed that a bunch of supposedly lost ballots. Shit,
Ballet.
balls. Cut can I damn it. Um that they turned up these thingies.
Oh no, what you thought you heard was this. What happened was the auditors for the state Senate of Arizona found that the, a couple of days before the machines were turned over, all of the files of the results of the election were deleted.
You
And
said
what
wait,
happened?
you said a bad word. All right, we have to stop
All right.
because we keep saying the bad words.
Well, this is just news, though. This isn't my opinion.
Yeah, but still, it'll
It was on
if an
CBS.
algorithm, if some machine learning deal is going through looking for bad words, um, we said we'd go a
Well,
half hour on this, and we've
all
gone
right.
about
Well,
a
I'll just briefly answer your question.
All
Just
right.
they found that the results of the erection were deleted from the machines. And because our auditors are really skillful and talented, they managed to find those files. So that's what you're dealing with, guys. Somehow someone got into the machines on April the 12th and went to the trouble to delete the results of the November 3rd event, which is, by the way, completely illegal. And this is now on record. It's not only is it on record, but the people that did it admitted that it happened. And they're just saying, well, see, you found them. Well, yeah, we found them because our auditors managed to find deleted files because they're skillful, not because the Biden supporters wanted us to find them. But it's out in
All
the
right,
open.
enough of this. Like I continue to believe that it's ridiculous.
Well, why do you suppose those files were deleted,
Well, hold on.
Rick?
No, I want to end this. You made a bunch of points and stuff. I just want to say
No, I'm just curious.
what
I'm curious. Why do you think the files were deleted?
I don't know what the deal is. When if you want to break, I'll read about it. And
Yeah, okay. Find out why Rachel Maddow says it's fine to delete evidence. Why would
all
they
right, give
do
me.
that?
All right, we'll take a break. We'll do one last
Okay,
break.
all right.
All right. Okay. All right. So, according to one article I quickly read, um, nothing was deleted. That the Republicans in charge of the November thingy in Arizona, who were not auditing but who were in charge of the election of the thingy, said that nothing was ever deleted. That the auditors were just looking in the wrong place, and the auditors admitted that nothing had been deleted.
No, that's a lie. What
Well,
what
hold
you
on.
just said was a lie.
Let me read you the article.
Well, I heard what you said, and this is what happened, Rick. I've
Hold on.
seen. No, you're not paying attention. You can say it again if you want to, and say some. Go, but I need to respond.
Yeah.
May I
Okay. Go
respond?
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I have seen the photograph that the auditors took of the erection results. And on April the 12th of 2021, somebody went in and deleted them. And what happened was they prepared, when you delete a file, the computer stores it until you write over it. So that's how the auditor managed to find it. But these quote unquote Republicans, these rhinos that deleted the file, none of them came forward and said, yes, I deleted it, April the 12th. They haven't admitted they did it, and they didn't tell them where they were. The auditor had to find it. So that's what they did was they they destroyed evidence imperfectly. They weren't able to destroy evidence, and so now you're sticking up for them, and that's their excuse.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read the lead paragraph, which the private companies hired by Arizona Republicans to audit the thingy admitted Tuesday that the data they accused Maricopa County of deleting had been found. So you
Well, they
say,
didn't admit it. They didn't admit it. They were very proud that they found it, even though
all right, so
the
now let's move on.
rhinos tried
All
to
right,
destroy it.
all right.
They were proud. They didn't admit it. They weren't keeping that a secret. They were very proud that they found it because your side tried to destroy it,
Well,
and will
my
probably face
side. Well, I don't. I mean,
prosecution.
the people, the Arizona Republicans in charge of the thingy who aren't doing the audit said that the auditors were just too dumb to look in the right place for the data.
Okay, well, what's going to happen is these people that are trying to defend the erection that Joey Bribes pulled off are probably going to face prosecution for destruction of evidence. That's the
Okay,
next step.
then I welcome that shit. Now let's move on.
Okay, all right,
For our last topic, I guess we got to talk about the shit going on in Palestine and Israel.
all right, go ahead.
Well, Palestinians have fired 3,000 rockets uh, into Israel, most of which have been intercepted, but not all. Israelis have died. Israelis have you know, have struck back, um, with great force, knocking down buildings, and um, the the number that I mean, everybody knows that Hamas is just purely shit. Um, on the other hand, you know that now I don't know because I don't know much about the Mid East. I don't know if different leadership had somehow been in charge of the Palestinians for the past 30, 40 years, whether peace would have ever been achieved. But Hamas says that's not really their objective. They suck. Um, and other people would say, or maybe some of the same people would say, that Netanyahu's policies are unduly harsh, that 20 times as many Palestinians as Jews, Israelis, have died in these conflicts over the past 20 years. But yeah, the Palestinians fire rockets into Israel, but then Israel just lays waste. Um, so um, Israelis have a right not to get hit with rockets. Palestinians have a right to not be killed just because their leaders are super shitty.
Well, spoken like a true Democrat. Your side has taken the side of the Palestinians. You know that that many Democrats are saying that the Israelis are murderers and that we should abandon them in favor of of Hamas, the terrorist state. And
That's not a majority Democrat
well,
Democratic.
why aren't they being persecuted? Why aren't they being castigated by your leadership? Why is it that all of the people that want to support the Arab terrorists are Democrats? And why doesn't it bother you? You'd vote for them. You'd vote for them 100 times in a row.
Well, I mean, I'm I guess I'm on the side of people who are saying that we should ask for a seat that we should be pushing for a ceasefire, and
Right.
there was a ceasefire.
No, but that's what people that are for destroying Israel want. What the Democrats want is to destroy Israel.
No,
And
that's
so what?
bullshit. No, no,
Yeah,
no, hold on, because
that's what AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib
yeah,
want.
you
That's
bring
what
up
they've
those
said.
three names all the time, but there
There are
are like
more. There are
there are
more.
200 there are 227 Democrats in the U.S. House of
Yeah,
Representatives.
and they haven't said a word to condemn your side for doing this. And by the way, none of this would have happened if Biden hadn't given the Palestinians $270 million. Why did he do that when Trump cut off that money? And one of Biden's first acts was to continue funding Hamas. So Hamas thought, okay, great, we're allowed to attack Israel now. So the man you voted for caused this to happen.
I don't think so, but I
Why
can't
not?
argue with you
Why don't
because
you
I
think
don't
so?
know
No,
enough
no, no,
about it.
no, no, no. Well, then how do you know that you're right? Let me put it this way. Trump cut off $270 million in aid that we'd been giving every year to Hamas, the terrorists under Obama and Biden. And what happened was when Trump took over, he said, look, I'm not going to give you people this money because it's a symbol that we're on your side. And so he cut it off, and he made it clear to them that he was not going to put up with any Palestinian terrorist bullshit. And the region was totally peaceful. It's the most peaceful it's ever been. And so as soon as Biden got into office, he gave $270 million to the Palestinians within the first few weeks. And they thought, okay, great. We've got a guy on our side. Let's attack Israel.
I can't effectively argue this because I'm underinformed. So
Well, maybe it's because your man is an asshole and you were wrong to vote for him.
no, that's not it.
Well, do you think it was a smart thing to give $270 million to Hamas?
Well, Hamas sucks, but I don't know what else to. I mean, the people in Gaza and the West Bank um, are severely limited in how they get goods.
No, they're not, actually. They can get as many goods as they want so long as they don't attack Israel. Then, while they're being attacked, they can't get the goods they want. So, why do you think the asshole you voted for
So wait,
stupidly
did
has
Trump
given
cut off
Hamas?
the 200? Did Trump cut off the $250 million after an
Yes.
attack, or did he just?
Well, Hamas is dedicated to the destruction of Israel, as are many Democrat politicians.
Well, the three you named, they want a
Well,
boycott of Israel.
another way that Biden is dedicated to the destruction of Israel is that in the middle of in the middle of the war, instead of calling up Netanyahu and saying, "Look, you've been attacked, you did nothing wrong, they've killed Israeli civilians. What can I do to help you destroy Hamas once and for all?" Instead of saying that, what he's done is he's asked Netanyahu for a ceasefire,
Yeah.
which is how the Hamas is able to regroup when they're losing. That's what they wanted. They wanted to be able to attack Israel and then have assholes like Biden and yourself call for a ceasefire. I'm very angry with you, Rick, because you're going to lead to the destruction of Israel. You're the
You,
kind of
you really
Jew.
think the Palestinians can destroy Israel?
Rick, I don't give a shit what they can do. Your man is allowing them to attack Israel, and
But
you
you
voted
said
for it.
that people like me are going to allow Hamas to destroy Israel.
Yes, yes, you are.
But no, but
Yes,
then you
that's
said,
what you're
then I
doing.
said, are you really think they can destroy Israel? And you said you don't
Well,
care.
right now,
So that's
But
just ridiculous.
what Biden said, what Biden's first priority when he got back into office was to restart the negotiations with Iran over their nuclear program. And the last negotiation allowed them to develop the
No,
infrastructure
but
to
we're not
develop a
talking
nuclear
about
bomb.
fucking Iran.
Well,
We're
no,
talking
actually,
about
we are fucking talking about Iran because Iran is funding Hamas. Where do you think they get their missiles?
I don't know. I mean, that
So,
makes
or they
sense.
get them from Iran. And Biden wants to negotiate new deals with Iran. When what we were doing had brought them to the brink of revolution under Trump,
No
Biden, yeah, we
bullshit.
had. There was the brink of revolution under Trump. We had successfully isolated Iran, and Biden lifted all the sanctions. So now Iran has the money to continue with their nuclear program and to give missiles to Hamas.
Biden didn't lift all the sanctions
Yes,
on
he did.
Iran.
Yes, he
All
did.
right, then hold on. Let's break one
And wait,
sec.
wait, 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 wait. It is a precondition without even negotiating anything.
Other official denies it. So the sanctions haven't been lifted at this point. They're talking about it.
Okay, the Biden administration on Thursday rescinded Donald Trump's sanctions on Iran. This is ABC News. Okay.
Hold on. No. No, director, can we break for a sec?
Okay. Biden lifts Trump sanctions on international court, April 2nd, PBS. Biden will unilaterally lift some Iran sanctions. That's the PJ Media.
Yes, some. You're saying all.
Biden caves to the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, Daily Wire. Biden to lift sanctions on Iran to restart the Iran nuclear deal, April 7th. Biden agrees to Iranian demands of sanction relief, April 22nd, American Military News.
Yeah, all these. Okay, so but other people are saying, but here's all right. Here's the AP, a reasonable source.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're reasonable.
The Biden administration, well, more reasonable than fucking Daily Wire. The Biden administration is considering a near wholesale rollback of some of the most stringent Trump era sanctions.
Do you think that's a good idea, Rick? Rick, do you think that's a good idea?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
But you make these statements like that.
No. Wait a minute. Wait. Biden is considering a rollback, by your own admission,
yes,
of sanctions against Iran. Should we have rolled back sanctions against Hitler, Rick? Can you decide that? That's kind of is that easy enough for you to figure out?
If we're trying to negotiate a thing with them.
Why should we be negotiating with them? They just attacked Israel.
So do you want to do you want to go to war with them?
Sure, I'm ready. I think so. I think they need an ass kicking.
They've got what, the largest army in the world?
What? You're
Iran?
frozen. You're frozen.
Okay. Well, anyway, let me know when I'm unfrozen. Still frozen?
I can hear you. I can hear your nonsense.
All right, so let's all right, so they've got the 8th largest army in the world, I think, right? So we're going to go to war with instead of before we try negotiating, we're going to go to war. We should just fucking bomb them.
Rick,
bomb.
I think that what Trump was doing had almost caused a revolution in Iran.
According to whom? According to fucking whom? The Daily Wire?
Rick, did you watch the news? There were riots in Iran the last year. Their economy was crippled. And your man, because he hates Israel and you voted for him, is going to lift.
They've had riots before and they didn't have revolutions. They've had the same government in place.
I know. no, no, actually, these were the worst riots we've ever seen. They started under Trump, and it was the worst unrest in Iran since the Ayatollah took over.
I don't know. I want to wrap it up.
Okay. Well, listen, Rick, I just want to say you're on the side of the Hamas terrorists now. And you and AOC and Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, you're all in the same party together. Okay?
Oh, fucking no, that's just fucking bullshit. They're
No, no,
three
it's not
quarters.
bullshit. You're both Democrats,
Yeah,
right?
okay, we're
Why,
Democrats, but
why
I don't have to. But just because the three people you bring up, which
Mhm.
are slightly more than 1% of the Democrats in the House, have want to boycott Israel, doesn't
Uh-huh.
mean that any Democrat who's a Jew is betraying fucking Israel.
Yeah, yeah, it does actually because
No, it fucking doesn't.
no,
Three
it
quarters of
fucking does.
American Jews,
No, it
three
does. It
quarters
does.
of American Jews are Democrats. And
They're dumb
most
enough.
American
They're,
Jews, the great
no,
majority of American Jews want Israel to survive and prosper, but they don't want uh, apartheid state repression and slaughter of Palestinians. Now, and yeah, Hamas leads Palestinians to the slaughter,
so you
but
think, wait, you think Israel is an apartheid state, Rick?
that's what some people are calling it recently, that
Well,
given
listen,
all the
you're,
restrictions on
uh-huh.
Palestinians under Israeli rule. Now,
So,
I don't know.
no,
I
no,
haven't
no,
read a
no,
bunch
Rick,
of
Rick,
articles.
don't be a spineless little snake. You just said that Israel's an apartheid state, right, Rick?
All right, so I take it back. But
Well, why are the Democrats lying about Israel then? Why are you voting for liars?
fucking Lance, look, the Israel engages in repress, especially Israeli conservative government, the Netanyahu government, like engages in, you know, repression of, and the Palestinians
No, no,
largely
they
live in
don't.
misery,
No,
according to
no,
my
they
understanding.
don't. No, they don't. Netanyahu does not repress anybody. You're nothing but you support terrorism right now, Rick. You're a Hamas supporter. Enjoy it.
All right, fine. All right, thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.